Hola clase, hoy vamos a discutir los verbos con cambio radical en el subjuntivo, or some changing verbs in the subjunctive. Okay, so the important thing to remember is that AR and ER verbs, nosotros, will not ever stem change in the subjunctive. There is no stem change for AR or ER verbs in the nosotros form or the vosotros form outside of the boot in the subjunctive. Por ejemplo, cerrar is to close. Cierre, cierres, cierre, cerremos, cerres, cierren. There is a stem change within the boot, just like normal present tense would be an E to IE stem change, that still occurs within the boot and the subjunctive. However, outside the boot and subjunctive, for nosotros and vosotros, there is no stem change because it's an AR verb. Volver, to return. Volver is an ER verb. So because it's an ER verb, it also cannot stem change outside the boot and subjunctive. So we will have vuelva, vuelvas, vuelva, volvamos, volvais, vuelvan. Again, inside the boot and the subjunctive, the verb stem changes normally, just like it would in present tense indicative, ODUE. However, outside the boot and subjunctive, it cannot stem change. IR verbs, however, are different. They still can stem change outside the boot and the subjunctive. However, they only can stem change half. So E will only go to I, O will only go to U. So if it's an E to IE verb, it'll still be E to IE in the boot, but outside the boot in nosotros and vosotros, it'll only be E to I. Same thing with the ODU. It might be ODUE inside the boot, but outside the boot, it would still only go ODU. So in the boot, everything stem changes normally for AR, ER, and IR verbs. Outside the boot, AR and ER verbs cannot stem change. IR verbs can only do a half stem change outside of the boot. They can only go E to I and ODU. Por ejemplo, dormir, to sleep. Duerma, duermas, duerma. Duermamos, duermais, duerman. So inside the boot, it's a normal stem change, ODUE. Outside the boot, it is an IR verb, so it can still stem change, but only half. So it can only go ODU. Sentirse, to feel. It is an IR verb, so it can still stem change in nosotros and vosotros, but only half. So within the boot, it would still be E to IE, just like present tense indicative. So me sienta, te sientas, se sienta. But outside the boot, it can only half stem change, E to I. Nos sintamos, os sintais, se sientan. Pedir, to ask for, to order. It's an E to I stem changer in present tense, so it'll still be E to I inside the boot, and then it'll also be E to I outside of the boot. It is an IR verb, so it can change E to I. So pida, pidas, pida, pidamos, pidais, pidan. So that happens to have the same stem change throughout the whole verb. Same thing with repetir, to repeat. Repetir is an E to I stem change in present tense indicative, so it'll still be E to I inside the boot, and since it's an IR verb, it can also change E to I outside the boot. So repita, repitas, repita, repitamos, repitais, repitan. Okay, practiquemos. Now please pause the video for a minute and please practice on your own. When you have finished, you can restart the video to check your answers. Alright, pensar. So we have piense, pienses, piense, pensemos, and then piensan. Nosotros is outside of the boot, and since this is an AR verb, nosotros cannot stem change. Querer, quiera, quieras, quiera, queramos, quieran. Again, nosotros cannot stem change for querer because it is outside of the boot and it is not an IR verb. Servir is an IR verb, so it can stem change in the nosotros form. So sirva, sirvas, sirva, sirvamos, sirvan. It happens to be an E to I stem change anyway, so it's the same stem change throughout the verb. Divertirse, again, is an IR verb. This is an E to IE stem change. But remember, outside the boot, it can only go E to I or O to U. So outside the boot, nosotros, it will only be E to I. Me divierta, te diviertas, se divierta, nos divirtamos, se diviertan. Okay, we will practice this a lot more in class, but please email me at gmanson@geneva304.org if you have any questions about any of this. Muchas gracias.